Hey, surprise! Look who's here in the house, Mr. Greg Bakun. Thank you so much for joining me today as we open up the platform for the collective. And the storyline is dun 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 Bigfoot.
So exciting.
I know. I'm really excited to have you here. It's a surprise. I haven't been live in a while, so this is going to be really cool. For those that are going to be popping in, thank you so much for being here. And don't be shy. Say hello. And Greg, introduce yourself for the collective, please.
Yeah, my name is Greg Bakun, and I'm a paranormal investigator. Been doing it for 16, 17 years now, something like that. And I look at paranormal in I consider kind of almost a unique way than a lot of other people do, because I get so many people who think paranormal is scary. It's like, ghost boo, that sort of thing. And
yeah,
that's not how I see it. It's never how I see it. And there's a lot of us that way, but it feels like more and more the field is going more towards the scares and the creepy locations. And I'm more on the metaphysical side of the fact that spirits can help us. We can help spirits. We can reach out to all sorts of things that we're going to be talking about today. But I also host on AM 950 radio Monday through Friday, Ghost Box Radio, which is a paranormal radio show. One of the few that are on terrestrial radio that is nightly. And then, though this week I'm on vacation, I'm going to be back Monday doing new shows. So, yeah, it's kind of cool.
You really do take it beyond its limits and trying to understand the story and the history. And there's so much more of what we do in the paranormal world and how we, I had to pause with that, Greg. And, we have mediumship, we have psychic, we have intuitive, we have those energy workers, and we're all tapping into some force of unknown and mystery, right? We really don't know until we really get there, but we can give our thoughts, our perception, and hold the container in a beautiful way that makes sense without that fear factor. There are moments, don't get me wrong, that we do get fear, like, oh my God, that just happened. And also, fascinated and we get the wow, oh my God, wow, you're in the awe of it. And that's the beauty of the energies that we can sit in, for sure. I've been a guest on your show, and your show is amazing. You have amazing guests all the time. The work ethics, time, integrity that you put in, you really do have some amazing guests from around the world. So it's a privilege to have you here as a guest for the collective. And I am really excited to dive into the Bigfoot, dun, dun, dun. As I bought this hat specifically for Greg a year ago with the intent that we were going to hook it up and have these conversations. And so for those that are stepping in, I'm going to see if we're on Facebook, if it's live, and if people can see us. And if you guys can see us, say hello. If you're following us on YouTube, say hello in the comments. Don't be shy. May I ask you, Greg, when did you become fascinated with Bigfoot? Like, when did you start to go into that?
It was always interesting. It was always that thing of like growing up, and we used to watch, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, like In Search Of in the 1970s. Leonard Nimoy would narrate this show that was all these mythical sort of, things that always a mystery. And, over in the 90s, you'd watch some shows where it was like, okay, they'd have like supposed recordings of these, entities that are like howling in the night in the woods somewhere, which always piqued my imagination. But I never really gave it any thought about even like trying to see if I could ever see one. Until I actually saw one myself. And at that point it changed everything, because seeing it had made everything like it made everything very clear to me. Right. Very much a change in how I approach everything paranormal now.
Right. I couldn't only imagine what that felt like when you have a moment that's very unexpected, surreal, And first, there's a lot of things that I want to ask as that comes up, right? So let me will it back and let me not get too excited. First off, how did that feel when you got to see Bigfoot for the first time with you by yourself?
Well, I wasn't by myself. I was
Or,
with
go ahead.
three other people, and we all saw. I say him. I don't know, but see him walking out of a into a clearing in the woods, and it's a whole story around that. If you want, I can get into that. But
Yeah.
just walking out and clearing, and all three of us don't say a word. We just all point towards him at the same time.
Right.
And it just that whole moment of, am I actually really seeing this? This can't be happening. This is unbelievable, and all of us were just, and what was kind of unlocked that day had really changed a lot of things for, I think, all of us, to be honest. And
Right.
it was just, it was cool. It truly changed my life.
I could imagine. Again, my mind is going. You're a psychic, you're a medium. Were you able to feel into the energies of the connection? Like, did you telepathy connect? How did you respond to Bigfoot when you were first in that moment?
It's an interesting thing because, and I hope I try not to make this too long of a story. When my friend Shar and I, we visited other friends of ours, Denise and Ernie Pack, and we were at their house, the Ditto House, the real Ditto House is what they call it, very haunted location in West Point, Kentucky. And even before that, like, we were all sitting in their living room, and this bug is kind of gliding towards Shar and myself. And, I don't know why my first instinct is to kill it, but it was. And so it's coming at us, and I'm about ready to, do that. And then I realize that it has a full body to it.
Yeah.
And wings. It's some sort of elemental, clearly.
Oh my God, Greg, what you're speaking of, I had that first connection with one of those beings of elementals, and I talked about this because I don't see that often. My mind couldn't put words to it, so I know I didn't create it within my imagination. I just didn't have a storyline for it. And so keep going. Spirit is so intelligent, as you're linking for me what I need to learn as well with this bug. So go for it.
So once I saw it and Shar saw it, we were just like, whoop. And anyone who knows anything about anything knows you don't try to harm an elemental. That is not suggested at all. So we let this, elemental, this body with legs and arms and a head and a face and wings, glide through between the two of us, and we turned around to see where it went. It was gone, completely gone. So then later that night, it was either that night or the next night, I forget now, really. We go up to a place called Fort Duffield, which is just a matter of blocks where Denise and Ernie live, and they are managing it, so to speak. They don't own it; they're managing it. They're trying to help restore it. And Fort Duffield is an earthen fort during the Civil War, meaning that there was, the walls that made up the fort were all from the earth that was built up to about 17 feet high.
Wow.
And over the years, it never saw any battle. It actually never saw any Civil War battle. It was never in conflict. But just over time, it's now about 12 feet high. It's not the same anymore. And Fort Duffield butts up next to Fort Knox.
Wow.
So they're right next to each other. And so we get there, and when you get to Fort Duffield, basically you drive in and you're at the ground level, and to actually get up to the fort, you need to go up kind of a steep hill, and to your right then will be Fort Duffield. But then that road, or that area, it's not a road at that point, but it kind of horseshoes around and back down, but that's all grass. And there's a bunch of trees, a little bit of forestry in between the two. So when we get up there and we decide to go on this other side that has, no buildings, just the trees and the land, that wasn't what I was expecting that we're even going to try to bring out, find any what we call forest people, Bigfoot, Sasquatch.
Right.
So going and wandering around there, we started seeing more elementals of different colors. They weren't lightning bugs, though there were those out there as well that night. But these were these elementals were like of lavender and other colors, and they're kind of flying from a distance. And we get down to an area which is actually ultimately kind of the area where our Bigfoot came out of the bushes. And there's just felt like there was this tree, and if you put your hand towards the tree, you could just feel the energy emanating out of it. It just like you would have to really kind of force your hand to touch the bark because there's so much energy around it, which we all thought was really weird. Suddenly I felt like that I was being scanned, like from the bottom up, like just felt like an energy pulse kind of moving through me.
Wow.
And, then Shar and Denise started feeling it as well. And ultimately we end up once again, just at the top of that side of the land. And that is where we're all up there looking the same direction. And where he walks out, like I said, it's a clearing, but it's also full moon that night. So it was almost like a spotlight on the area. And he just comes walking out. And he had to been probably about maybe 70 feet away or something like that. I mean,
wow.
Really not that far, really, when you think about it. It might even be more like 50 feet, to be honest. And people always ask me, like, well, what happened? Where did he go? And I don't know. I don't think it's because he just disappeared. It just got really sort of chaotic at that point. And so I don't know where he went. I know that Denise suddenly starts running down towards him.
She did. Shoot.
And I did too. I mean, because we all started to, because it's just kind of like, well, okay, let's see where this goes. And it's kind of like a moment of like, I'll never probably have anything like this happen again. So let's just see what happens. Hopefully we don't get torn apart, because my whole idea of what Bigfoot was pretty different up until that point. But what I was going to try to get at here is that I believe that the elemental, that faction, I think there are some elementals that are kind of like the first responders, so to speak. Yeah. Like they're checking to see if we are worthy for someone like a forest friend like that to come out. I really think that they're kind of like checking us out, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think in any form of energy and spirit, and the way they express or share their energy, it's a gift, and it's not a demand, and it's a gift and a privilege and an honor if we get those type of moments that occur. And when they do, oh boy, watch out. And so I did remember saying this to a gentleman, and he would see exactly what you see, the energies of the elementals. And he would be like, do you see them? And I would be like, no. And I said that was a gift for you. And so it's honoring and respecting how the energy is expressing and the essence is being brought forward. But boy, I would have probably ran the other way, Greg. So if I was in the woods with you, I'd be like, shoot, keep me in the car. What's up? But so much gratitude that you took the forward, and Denise running after it. Like, where are we going? Right.
Well, part of that too is like, well, we'll see what happens to her first. And she was like going to be the first one down there. And if it got ugly, then we could run the other way at that point.
That's so messed up.
Yeah.
So messed up. So when you are in that state, and I'm pretty sure this is something you'll have a memory for the rest of your life. Like, can you imagine the shape what he looked like, because we call him he. What, was he tall? Was he average built? What did he look like to you? How would you describe it to the community?
He was very tall, and I recall him having more of silver hair.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason I feel like that there were like purple light highlights, and not because his hair was purple, but based on how like the light was hitting him.
Mm-hmm.
And just very like is very tall, very, kind of more, I would think, thinner than what I would expect, like what we see Bigfoot wise. I mean, just a big entity, but not like, oh, to me I didn't recall him being overly like muscular or anything like that. There, you could see him as like a size, you could see that people could be close to the size of him and stuff, but he was tall. He was very tall, and he's just out there by himself, just kind of I don't know, it just seemed like he was just kind of like bobbing forward a little bit. Maybe he was listening to a groove or something, I don't know, but he seemed nonplussed by anything, and I don't know if he wanted to see what we would do or what. I don't know what, I don't know what the purpose was for that per se, but from that moment created a series of events that lasted the next 2 days, and then also has stayed with all of us, like in terms of trying to reach out again to these forest friends up until now.
I was going to ask, so when you document this, right, the land, the location, do you go back and sit in the energies of the land to revisit what does it feel like? And is it different from the day of the moon, or do you go on a full moon again to see if you can have the same experience?
Well, for myself, I hadn't been back since, only because it's Kentucky and I'm in Minnesota. So it's a little bit, but I mean, Denise and Ernie, they do at least monthly sort of like events where people can come out and try to reach out to forest friends there, and that they've had a great deal of luck. It seems to be a very active area. But one of the things that we kind of all realize, that I'm sure a lot of people who are listening and watching are like, well, this is a no-brainer, but it finally confirmed a lot to me, was the fact that it's like so many of us had been like, we reach out to spirit, we might try to reach out to Bigfoot, we might try to reach out to aliens or whatever, and they're all different because they're all different buckets, but they're all energy. Right. So that suddenly changed, of how I reach out to spirits is no different than how I reach out to Bigfoot or aliens, because I believe that entities like Bigfoot are interdimensional beings. They are not animals that are, hanging around and that we're in, populated areas. That they are actually entities that if you're in favor with them, that you can call them pretty much wherever you are and get perhaps some kind of audience with them.
Yeah.
We've tried this multiple times.
I've had a girlfriend who has some amazing pictures that were out in the woods, and she just gets the gnarliest, craziest images. And I'm like, girl, how does this just happen to you? She just gets clip after clip, and it's amazing the things that she captures that we don't have access to all the time. You got to get front row seats to this being Bigfoot, and only a handful can say we've seen him. And I know one of my friends is one of those, and hearing you and hearing Denise, and I could literally get a thought in my mind where I could see her going into these woods and saying, come here, buddy, come here. Like, she's so kind, like so gentle. So the way spirit is sharing me that gentleness, it is definitely a response to your energies as well, is how that feels for me.
Yeah, I watch, some of those shows like Finding Bigfoot and stuff, and so often though they're looked up as, predators and whatnot, and they're not. I don't think they are, at least. But I think the first thing is I think you, like you said, that they respond to your energy. So if your energy is one to exploit, I don't think they're going to show up. And I personally, like, I've had people ask me, like, well, did you try to grab any pictures or anything? And I said, no. And they're like, why not? And I said, because I don't have, I know what I saw. I know what I experienced. I don't
Right.
need to document to show other people. I'll tell the story, but if people don't believe it, that's fine. You don't have to, that's totally up to you. I know what I've experienced, and I'm extremely grateful for it.
I think there's a lot of beauty in that, and honoring the energies and the sacredness of what you witnessed. I think we in this work, we want to document and have evidential proof that this is happening. And it reminds me of a conversation I had early morning where I felt something on the scene. I never been on the premises before. I felt a certain way of passing. I went and followed up on the environment of what took place, and they acknowledged what I felt, but there was no proof to back it up. You can't take away what you feel or what you experience, because your spirit is feeling into that. And so there are just some things that will be left unsaid. There will be some things that will definitely be buried into that deep rooted storyline that we will not know, as much as we can try to unfold. And this is why it's so personal, right, Greg?
It is personal. And, I think one of the things that has kind of changed my direction has been now with that is how much are we doing paranormal investigations in houses and locations, and that maybe what we're getting is not necessarily always spirit of someone who had lived in the house or who lived, but more of, are we getting any sort of aliens? Are we getting any sort of Sasquatch energies? It's just like, to me, it's now, anything is on the table, and we have in our investigations, we have brought those aspects into our investigation, where sometimes, and we don't mean to, but we sometimes switch on a dime when we start feeling certain types of energy. We start changing it to, like, is this any of our forest friends, and is this any of our whatever. And some of the results that we've gotten from that, you could say it's either very cool or also very chilling, actually, because it's a different kind of energy. It's different. It presents itself differently than, say, if we're trying to reach out to Uncle Frank at somebody's house.
Right.
When we start trying to, we're in a barn at a farm, and we're asking for that energy out there, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a big gust of wind comes into the barn.
Right. And I'm so grateful you said this, because this has been heavy on my mind for many of us who channel and we tap into the energies. We are truly, for me, I was trained to go from one frequency to the next frequency, which is first that earth mineral kingdom, the elementals, the energies of the fairyland, and the crystals and the trees and the herbs. And then we merge into the animal kingdom, and we go into the ancestors and the angels. And then from there, it's the celestial beings. So we truly do have that link or connection to move our awareness and our mindset. Everything of consciousness can be felt into and shared and blended with. It's a matter of allowing our mind to be freely in it with no fear. And you had no fear. You, Denise, were like, let's go in this, baby. Let's do this. So it takes courage to sit in those energies. And you mentioned the aliens, and there's such a huge topic, whether it's Bigfoot or ETs or the celestial beings. I truly believe what we are experiencing is a gift when they come to us in that way. And I feel like you, Greg, I've worked with you for a couple of years, and you've even had your own encounters with the alien life force, or the ETs, or and I will say, for me, I've had my own experience. How would you share the alien connection and the Bigfoot? How did that feel for you?
For me, the Bigfoot side of it was more loving. The second night, I was touched by one in the back of my head. It felt like, some big hand just like grabbed the back of my head, and just like, it was crazy. And then later in the same forest, I had my spirit box going. I was connecting with them via spirit box. And like at one point I said to, I saw, are you familiar with what eye shine is?
No.
So
Share.
eye shine is when at night, you could see their eyes, and their eyes actually glow. It's not like cats' eyes that reflect and give out a light. Their eyes actually glow, and so that's called eye shine.
Oh, wow.
And some of the eye shine is a little bit different, the colors than the others. People are like, well, aren't those maybe just like the lightning bugs or something? Well, they don't move and they stay in pairs. So and I had one that was not too far from me in the forest. I could see it, and I had spirit box going, and I just felt compelled. I don't know why. I just felt compelled, and I just said, I love you.
Oh.
And right back from the spirit box, I hear, I love you.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was, I mean, I'll never forget that. That was incredible. And it was just a moment. And I don't know why I told them I love them, but at the same time, I think I was filled with so much love, because it's like we're in a forest and we're kind of surrounded, and but never felt. The only reason why it felt maybe a little frightening is simply because your mind makes it frightening. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
we're kind of conditioned that this is scary stuff, and it's also because it's unknown that makes it scary as well.
Right.
The alien stuff, in my experience, is much more clinical.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more logical, and it's a little bit scarier for me. We've done a number of CE5s, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind experiments, where, you know, like based on like the movie, the third kind is that you can see them. The fifth kind is that you are actually calling them to. The hope is to see them face to face.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're doing this, I have a mantra that I have created for myself ever since we did the last CE5, and that's simply this: careful for what you wish for, because it will happen.
It's so true. It's so true, because we're making the intent. And as we're making that intent to manifest the energies and the essence, we're manifesting by connecting to thy will be done. So and that's important to understand. What is your will and what is your spirit? What is your magnetism being pulled towards? I want to say, as you're in the woods, my thought went, oh my God, your electromagnetic field's got to be off the hook. You're in the energies of the forest all the time. You're in the nature. So I'm, in my mind, you're a big walking antenna.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you turn it on, right? Especially when you're
Yeah.
like, now you're walking in that way, but now you're turning it on and you're like, come and talk to me. And I also believe that once you reach out to alien energy, and I think it's probably the same to Sasquatch energy to a certain degree, but once you reach out to alien energy, they don't let go of you. They're with
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I feel that there are many of us mediums who can channel and deliver messages from the higher ETs or the higher aliens and cosmic beings. And it depends on what life force is moving through a medium and how they're channeling, right? And I feel that energy is very heavy, but some are just so private to say, I'm tapping into this energy or this link. There's this mindfulness that comes, but then it's like, if one doesn't share what they're channeling or who they're connecting to, how can we cross-reference storylines and maybe you have a piece of the puzzle that I'm needing to put their story together. So it's very important that we don't hold back and we express what we're processing together in this community that you built a safe community where people really feel open to share. They're very direct and question. And I love that you do that you have that platform for like-minded souls like us to say, what if, or what is this happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's, and kind of, I think we might have touched on it a little bit earlier, how I personally feel a lot of the paranormal field tends to want to kind of weaponize is too strong of a word, but give some make it a little bit frightening. Like that's the reason that we want to do it, because we want to be scared. We want to have that moment of, ooh, what's going on here? And that's not how I want to ever portray that field for myself.
Yeah.
It's always meant to be of help, and I understand why some people want that scare factor, but that's what the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland is for, that sort of thing, where what we're trying to do here is like, we can have real communication, we can have real experiences, and it doesn't have to be, based on some guy on a television show being locked up for 72 hours and we're seeing what it turns him into. We need something better. We need something more tangible, I think.
I do see what you're saying there, Greg. I feel like that's in everything we do. There's so much that is not shared that is done behind the scenes, right? And I feel like being in production and then being on the field and then being a psychic, and you have the production part of the team who has a vision. So when you're with a team, you're working for the team's vision and whatever that producer or director's creating. And then sometimes the other clips don't make it. So it's like there's healing that's done. There's messages delivered. There's more in depth. You have a house visitation and you're dissecting the first layer of what's happening here. And you're really doing the legwork. So I like to call, you're on the front line. You're the front line of what is in there. So you're in there. You're touching all of the what ifs and the hard labor of your work. So I understand how that is being presented differently when it makes it to the next level for not next level, but another perspective on how they're showcasing it, right? And so this is where we want to have that mindset to know there is production, there is field work, and there's different ways in how we all present it and package it. And you do a beautiful job in hand packaging it and delivering it. I want to say signed, sealed, delivered. I know. Now I'm singing to you.
Well, and I mean, and that's the thing, right? I mean, I'm not going to be, when people say to me, oh, I love such and such show, I'm not going to be like, you fool. I mean, it's like, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
It's entertainment.
I mean, that's what they're there for. They're entertainment. But please don't presume that that's how it is out there. And I guess what is frustrating is that there's so many people now out there in this field that they're hoping that they can, start doing the convention circuit, and they're doing it for fame, and everyone has their own reasons. It's not for me to say that, going for fame is wrong, but at the same time, it doesn't seem, a lot of it seems very hollow, where all they're doing is, it's what I always call recycled air. Right. That is, we're all just kind of saying the same concepts in this group on Facebook of like 300 people. And that's what it is. And that's where something like my show, I like to think, and your show is great because we're able to get to the next level. And if I may real fast, Ernie Pack is, Debbie, is who we talked about, Denise and Ernie. And so I just really want to say real fast, because my first experience with Forest Friend Energy was at Fort Duffield. You all need to go on Facebook, and please just go find Fort Duffield on Facebook, and please follow it and see what Denise and Ernie have going on out there, because it's just two people who there's other people involved, don't get me wrong, but they are really championing to get people in so that they can help make Duffield a very nice place again. And it is nice, but they're just doing constant improvements, and they do these great Sasquatch nights out there as well. So I don't mean to hijack, but it's worth it.
You didn't. I think, Ernie, if you could put your handle in there so that we could follow you and get the followers on there, we'll highlight it on the live here. I think it's a beautiful thing, Greg. And I want to say this, and I've experienced this as a medium in the past, where there are different cases, because obviously other people will want to say, oh my God, Greg saw Sasquatch here, he found Bigfoot, let's go see what happened. So you always have those others that want to see if they can repeat what you experienced. And I have found, I could go a little bit inside, because this goes back to, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to be shown the energies, and you were given that gift. And I've had people where they book and have other people like me go in and try to see what they pick up, and it's not the same, and they'll call me or question, hey, what about this? And I said, hey, who do you have there? Go ask them. Like everyone's case is very different.
Yeah.
But this is the unique beauty. Your link, your connection, and how you work is what brings that essence forward for the spirit world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And definitely check out Duffield and Pac-Man Paranormal. Ernie may be one of the most boring guests I've ever had on my show. But he's still all right. So.
Ernie, I don't find that to be true, Ernie. I literally get little visions.
There's recorded proof of it.
Ernie, don't let him do that to you. Don't let him put you on that bus. Ernie, come on. If I could send you the link, you could jump in. Greg, send him the link.
God, no, I don't know where it is. I lost it.
Oh my God. But listen, Greg, you really took us into your insight into the mind of Bigfoot. And also we tapped into that energy of the ETs. And I think this is truly a beautiful blend that you went from the earth all the way to the high that high connection of spirit. And not that the elementals are not high vibration. It's just that you truly traveled from frequency to frequency. And I think this is what's important and reminded to those that are doing this work. You can tap into just about everything if you are patient enough and really take time to let them be and fill into it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think if we go back to Bigfoot and you see the lavender and you see the purple and you see the elements and you felt scanned, you said, and you felt like your energies were being scanned. How did you feel after?
After was, it was a high. It was just an absolute high. And, that night, we had hung out at the end of the evening. We also investigated. That's why, Debbie, have him on. You'll see the followers roll in. Right. Sorry, Ernie, if you excuse me, I'm trying to tell an interesting story. We were at Fort Duffield itself, and it was at the end of the night, and something very guttural screamed at us at the end of the night. I think that's one of the things too we have to be careful about, because a guttural scream doesn't mean I want to eat you all. It could mean all sorts of things. It could just even be like, you all been here long enough, go home. We're sick of you being here. So like, I'm sure Ernie hears that every night he's out at Fort Duffield. And so it's kind of, those things just kind of add up of like, I can't believe this has happened to us, on that second night when I was touched. And it also needs to be worth saying at that location as well, Ernie had an energy blast that literally took him down right after that, which I don't know what that is. And I don't think it, once again, maybe I'm just a forest friend, sympathist, but I don't think it was meant to hurt him. I don't know if it was just, I don't know if they know their energy, but it took him down for probably about like a minute or something like that, and he's just like, just let me sit here for a second. Let me get my, let me just, because we're all like, let's help you out. He's like, just hold on. Let me just kind of sit here. Mm-hmm. So it just got kind of really interesting suddenly after that. And it's just kind of one of those things that you just started to make a list of all the stuff that was happening. They have a gifting stump out there, which there's all sorts of interesting things that happened around that night. And then the next night or something around maybe a night later, a bunch of us went to the Octagon Hall, which is not too terribly far, which is rooted in the Civil War. And we were looking out back. We're outside in the backyard, and there's dogs all around the fences that are kind of around the perimeter. And we had one of those FLIR cameras, FLIR, the heat signature cameras. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Shar, myself, and our friend Danae were all looking through the viewfinder, and we were watching this dog move probably about, not too terribly far from us. and all of a sudden it gets up on its hind legs and it turns into a man and
Oh,
walks
snap.
behind a tree. And you gotta imagine. I mean, within 3 nights, I'd seen Bigfoot. The next night he touches me, and we have all this crazy activity. And then the next night I'm seeing a dog that turns into a man. I'm like, what is happening here? I
And
mean,
then you call Ernie boring? This is where he has
Ernie
access
is
to.
boring. No, Ernie is boring.
I think there's low-key energy that you don't get to see with Ernie. If his property is blowing up, like it's like
more like barely like registering energy. It's not. No, you go ahead. You talk to him and you tell me afterwards that you feel like it's a good idea to support this man. So,
I think what happens is people who experience this, right? This type of frequency experience of visitations and oh my God, a dog walking. You were like in my head today. I had this whole entire conversation with a great friend where we started talking about the dog and the heavier energies and exactly kind of what you were saying, the howling and I've heard that type of spirit before, and it's pretty intense and scary feeling when you don't okay, back it up. Your boundaries, back it up. So there is definitely protection when you're stepping into that next realm, right? I saw, what did he say?
Saw a fairy too.
You did, yeah.
And we did talk about that because, like I said, I think that's like the first line of troops, if you will, that come to see if this is worth our time. And the thing about and you really should probably see if you can get Ernie on at some point, because I was going to say some of the stuff that happens in his and Denise's house, but that's not for me to say. That's you got to hear the stories from them.
Definitely.
But there's Bigfoot energy stuff that's in the house itself.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
I do feel that we are all kind of linked and tied in as a community. We're all a piece of a puzzle, right? And you being friends with Denise and Ernie, it's not an accident. You're supposed to be part of that experience, is how I feel. The people that you connect and you get to handshake with is because it's a higher intelligence is linking you all together for them to express and bring forward the energies that we need in our planet. It's definitely time. I think I channeled last year where the spirits of the intelligence were like, we're going to start showing you, be ready. And I didn't realize until the news and everything that comes out, I didn't know to what magnitude. And, when you get the channeled message and it happens and you see it and you're part of it, it's pretty intense when there's that validation. But at the same time, there's also the unknown. And that's why it's paranormal. That's why it's in that state of we don't know. There's no documentation for it.
And I do think, kind of talking about it's not a coincidence of who hangs out with who or how, because I do think that energy does find itself eventually, right? And so that's that why I know them, why I know you, and why I know Shar and other people, because we're all, I think we may not know each other. And in some ways, with what I just said is I'm one of the connectors there, but we all have the same ideology of stuff, I think.
I do really believe that. And I think, Greg, this is where you might start documenting and creating the blueprint of today, of 2026, of what Bigfoot feels like for you, and create that dialogue of letting them channel through you, see if you're open, not only from the ghost box, but also from you and your thoughts and your mind to theirs and the telepathy, and really start blending with it to see what do they want to share with us? What do they want us to know, and start bringing that to us, because it's not, yes, it's out there in some form, but as a community and a collective that's in it on the front line, like you, I say, babe, create that experience for us to kind of feel into those energies in the way you all felt it,
Well, and I think too, that's why, Denise and Ernie, they do a podcast, and I think they talk about it quite a bit. I've talked about it many times on my show, or we do this event once a month called Ghost Stories and Beyond in Anoka, Minnesota. And, we are constantly, even if it's not necessarily about that, we try to talk about the synergies as well. You know, the synergies of maybe what we're talking about, but how it's connected to other entities and how it's connected to other energies. So you know, that's part of it too. And you start finding people who, and you can see it on their faces when you tell the stories in person, they're either agreeing or they're not agreeing. There's no right way. I don't think it's up to
Right.
each individual, but you start seeing the people, like it's like a snowball. You go to these events and stuff, you talk about it, and you get more people who have always thought of it that way, or they now are thinking of it that way, and they just kind of they join in with what you're doing and want to be a part of it, and that just keeps moving, you know,
Right.
forward.
So it just grows, and the excitement of those who are not afraid to, what we say, hold space for it, right? Hold space for the energies. And I think you got a good group of that. And Ernie, I would say, I don't think you're a boring person, because you got all the fairies at your house. You got the dogs walking on, you know, you got some pretty cool stuff there. I can't see how that would be boring. So we'll definitely reach out to you. Greg, as we tap into this, and you said, once you make that connection, whether it's through the celestial beings, ETs, or Bigfoot, it never goes away. So when you say that, what have you experienced now that time has settled and time has passed, that you feel that they work through you, and how?
Well, I mean, when it comes to aliens, I feel like they're generally always around me.
Yeah.
You know, that they're in the house. You know, it's not too different from how like the film Signs is, where just sometimes you can see like a corner of your room and it's kind of shimmering, and you know, that's because something there. I think one of the craziest though was Shar and I went out to a location that's not too terribly far from us, a wooded area. And we never really say where we go, only, I mean, with the difference of Fort Duffield, because we want more people to get out there, but anywhere else, we generally don't say. And that's
smart.
It's just, we just don't want it inundated with people trying to, this is kind of our
agree.
little, you know, so, and people don't like to hear that, but I mean, it's just what it is. But we were out there, and I was not happy with the energy. I was not feeling very safe out there that night. But we were walking around, and Shar was, you know, very much like, let's go. And I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm Scooby-Doo over here. You know, I'm just like, oh, not tonight, Shaggy, you know. And finally at one point, because we were stopping, and it's like there's pathways in these woods, and Shar had seen, because we did the whole thing where we call out, which is something that we had seen, Denise and Ernie's friend Greg Yost, who's known as Squatchman. We had seen him do this, and so we have adopted and basically stole that approach when we try to do it ourselves. And is basically being very open and honest and calling out to them to come join us. And we're giving out the invitation. He does it in a very big way. I don't do it quite as big as that. But we make it known that we are ready to receive if they're ready to join. And so we saw something very big down the corridor, shadow walk across. And it's like, and it just like, I don't know. That night I was just like, I don't know. First of all, it's in an area that I don't know who else is in the woods. And it's
I was going to say that. I could feel that. Maybe there was a party scene going on. You're picking up on your kids or somebody who have been hanging out there, you know? I could see that. And those are the moments you have to trust. One of the things that I like to do when I leave from my neighborhood and I go into other spots, I like to sit and meditate with the land, or I like to sit and meditate to feel into the energies that come. And when I do that, I can feel the connection of those that lived on the land. So start to blend in with those energies. And you obviously clearly did that with your senses. You felt like, and Shar felt it, like, let's get out of here. And I think those are important moments that you have to honor, even if it feels like, well, dang, you know?
Yeah, because the whole night was kind of like that. And so, and I don't want to bring stuff for self-defense, because I'm afraid that the forest friend energy is going to note that and take that as that something I want to use against them.
Right.
So we are walking back, and all of a sudden she stops and she grabs my arm, and she's looking the other direction. And so I turn around and I'm just like, oh my God, what did she see? And I turn around and I look, and like, once again, it's another full moon, and there's a huge amount of moonlight on this big trunk, this big tree trunk. And all of a sudden a shadow moves across the tree trunk, and it is an egg-shaped head, a long neck, and a body. And that's Alien.
Right.
And suddenly it's like we're out there for Sasquatch, but then we see this alien shadow just move across. And what's even more frightening is that I'm in my mind, where's it going? And the trajectory of where this shadow is going directly to my truck.
Oh, shoot.
But I can't go the same direction that it's going because it's full of trees and shrubs and stuff. You just can't walk through it. I have to still take the path, which will take you like all the way back around and over and everything else. And we get into the truck and we're driving away, and immediately we're in the truck. And I mean, we did the whole thing too, is when we left the woods, we each kind of turned around and backed out, saying you're not allowed to follow us. But we get into the truck and we're driving right away. You can feel like something is in the truck with us. And
I've had that feeling happen to me, and it's pretty intense.
Yeah. And so Shar is just like, I have a feeling once we go over, because we're going to go over a big body of water here on a bridge. She's like, I think once we pass that, it will go away. And we did, and then right away you could feel it dissipate in the truck. Crazy.
Yeah, I think it's one, you guys have the sight to see. You can feel, you see it, and I think that's important. I see a lot of those things within my mind's eye, and I can see that as well, and I could see the energies come in. And I think for me, when the first time that it happened, I freaked out. I'm like, I need a healing, I need a clearing. Something happened. I see this dude, or this alien figure. So for me, my first instinct is go clear that, clear Recky, and now I'm just like, oh, he's part of my team. It's all good. We're cool peoples. We can hang out. We elevate to those connections, and there's that exchange of wisdom that comes through, but it's also that trust, right? That trust that, like you said, when you started in the beginning, but my first instinct was like, go get a healing. Go get it. I need some work done. So when you don't understand, it can be very frightening. And I think you've given us an insight of how to trust it, how to process it, and you have no fear when it's connected. And I think people like you, Greg, are needed in this world. All of you that do this work, that sit out there to try to understand the unknown and the paranormal. It takes courage to sit in that. It takes time, dedication. And because of what your findings, it's what changes the world for us to have better understanding. So thank you for the work you do. Thank you for just sharing your time here. And Ernie, I don't think you're boring. I kind of feel into all the goodness that's happening with you and Denise. And I got to say, I adore how Greg is just really coming for you, bro.
Once you talk to him, you'll just be like, I get it. It's not so much boring. It's just like you have to expand your show from like an hour to about 3 hours, because a sentence it's not quick. It's a lot of pauses, and I don't know. It's just you'll see, and you'll thank me for the heads up. I guarantee that.
Oh my God, Ernie! No, he did it. Now, as we go into this and we close it up, Greg, with this story here. What is it that you want the world and the collective to know when it comes to the energies of the elementals, Bigfoot, and the aliens? What, from your heart and the work that you've been doing, what would you like us to have an open mind from your perspective?
I think it's just it. I think you need to have an open mind. I think that you need to understand for yourself why you want to connect with like a Bigfoot, an alien. What is it that you want to do? Is it for the cool factor to be able to say you do it? Which I don't blame anyone, including myself, that's where it kind of always starts at. But to when you get to the point of like you want to do it, and understanding, in my opinion, that you don't need to have something to try on the ready to take a picture, to try to take a picture of them or try to document them, that your experience with them is good enough. And that, I think our first reaction to them shouldn't be one of oh, they're scary, they're monsters, stuff like that. They're older than we are, and that we actually have a lot to learn, I think, from especially the Sasquatch energy.
Right. I think this is a great message. And I think also it's what you said, be careful what you ask for. And also, what are your reasons why and why we do what we do? And if you lost that, pause, reflect, and go back to why do we do what we do? And because the work and the energies take us. And so it's a great way to ground our thoughts and reminding us of why we do what we do and our mission to hold space and for understanding. There's a lot of wow factors. There's a lot of, I would say, moments where you're put in situations that can be dangerous, where it's the structure and the energies of, the connections that you're in and the land. And so what are you willing to put yourself into, and is it worth, and why? Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack. Yeah. So Greg, thank you for this time that you shared here on our show on Inspire. That's the new show, Inspire. I don't know where that came from, but it just kind of hit me like, let's change it up, and so I feel you're an inspiration. I feel that you're a big light in this community of paranormal, but not only that, you're a cool dude. So I appreciate you being a cool dude and being here as a guest on Inspire. And if you can let people know again where they can find you and what you're offering next.
If you want to go over to Facebook, Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakun, you can like that page. I also have a YouTube page, same name, Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakun. And I will be back Monday with new radio episodes. I'm going to have on psychic medium Rob Gutrow and Monique Toussoon. We're going to be talking about their new book, Haunting at Wilson Castle. So it took a week off, and Monday I'm raring to go. So that's what we have going on.
He's always at it, y'all. He does not stop every day on Ghostbox Radio. You don't want to miss him. Greg Bakun, thank you again.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.